1979. A primary school student walking home late encounters a woman with disheveled hair wearing a white medical mask at a street corner. She asks softly, "Am I beautiful?" When the child nods, she slowly peels back the mask, revealing a massive wound ripped open to her ears, oozing dark red blood. She raises a pair of industrial scissors, half a meter long, and says to the screaming child, "How about now?"
Welcome back to Glitch Frequency. Today, we are talking about the Slit-Mouth woman, Kuchisakeonna.
We're taking you back to 1970s Japan to unpack the collective terror hidden behind that mask and the scent of hair pomade.
So we're doing a deep dive today, and the mission for you listening is to really trace the evolution of this incredibly terrifying figure.
Right. We want to look at how she went from this hyper-localized panic to, like, a timeless symbol of societal anxiety.
Exactly. And we've got a massive stack of historical records, actual police dispatches, news clippings, and cultural analyses to go through.
It's a lot of material.
It really is. But to genuinely grasp the grip this legend had on an entire nation, we have to kind of strip away the modern world. We need to completely immerse ourselves in that specific environment.
You really do. Like, you have to put yourself in a Japanese suburb in the late 1970s.
Yeah, and this isn't the neon-soaked Tokyo you might picture today.
Not at all. These are quiet, dense, residential neighborhoods, concrete walls, narrow, winding alleyways, very few streetlights.
And the time of day is absolutely critical here. This legend doesn't exist at midnight. It exists at dusk.
Right, that specific moment when the sun dips below the horizon, but it isn't quite pitch black yet.
It's that eerie transitional lighting where everything just looks a little bit wrong.
Yeah, precisely. In Japanese folklore, this twilight window is known as Oumagatoki,
Oumagatoki, right.
which translates roughly to the hour of meeting evil spirits. It's a liminal space.
I love that concept.
It's fascinating. The shadows stretch out across the pavement, shapes become indistinct, and that daylight safety net is just gone.
This is her domain.
Exactly. She is said to wait in the mundane, everyday transitional spaces, beside wooden telephone poles near elementary schools.
Or lurking in the dim, leafy corners of neighborhood parks.
Right. Or just standing perfectly, unnervingly still at the end of a silent residential alley.
Which completely flips the script on traditional horror, if you think about it. She isn't a ghost haunting an abandoned mansion.
No, she's an adult stranger standing in the exact place you have to walk through to get home from school.
That's what makes it so visceral. And the visual descriptions in these sources are just so striking.
They really are. It's always this lone woman. She has long, messy, disheveled hair.
And she's wearing a trench coat. Sometimes it's a stark, sterile white. Other times it's this jarring, bright red.
But the focal point, the thing that immediately draws your eye, is a white medical mask covering the lower half of her face.
And we really have to pause and contextualize that mask, because today, seeing someone in a medical mask on the street doesn't warrant a second glance.
Right, it's completely normal now.
But in 1970s Japan, while it was occasionally used during the winter for severe colds, it was absolutely not an everyday, ubiquitous item.
Definitely not.
So seeing a solitary woman standing completely motionless in an alleyway at twilight, her face obscured by this stark piece of medical equipment, it instantly triggers a profound psychological alarm.
It totally weaponizes the fear of the unknown. Your brain's desperately trying to fill in the blank space. Like, what is she hiding?
Exactly. And that fear of the unknown perfectly sets up the interaction, because she doesn't just jump out and attack you.
No, she corners you.
She corners you. And remember, the primary victims in these accounts are children.
Right.
So imagine being an 8-year-old. An adult woman steps into your path, blocks the narrow alley, and initiates this psychological trap.
She asks that single, softly spoken question, "Am I beautiful?"
It seems so innocuous at first, right? But it is a perfectly constructed snare.
It really is, especially when you think about the social dynamics at play.
Yeah. A child speaking to an adult in Japanese society is heavily conditioned to be deferential, polite, and agreeable.
The victim feels an overwhelming social pressure to simply nod and say yes.
Because to say no to a stranger's face is rude. You're literally paralyzed by etiquette.
So you say yes, and that is the exact moment the trap snaps shut.
It's terrifying. She slowly reaches up, hooks her fingers under the mask, and just rips it away.
The unknown is revealed, and it's horrific. Her mouth is brutally slashed open, ear to ear, exposing teeth and bone and muscle.
And then she asks the second question, how about now?
The pure, visceral shock of that moment is what cemented this legend in the public consciousness.
It's the contrast. In a fraction of a second, the human brain has to process the transition from a conventionally attractive woman who just asked for validation into a literal nightmarish monster.
And then the hardware comes out, because she's not just going to scare you.
Oh no, her weaponry is brutally specific and industrial.
Yeah, the accounts almost never mention a simple kitchen knife.
Yeah. She wields a massive farming scythe, a rusted sickle, or most famously, giant half-meter-long industrial shears.
And the folklore emphasizes the auditory horror of it, too.
The sound, yeah.
The grinding metallic screech of those massive iron blades scraping together as she steps towards you. It's like her signature soundtrack.
Just thinking about that sound echoing in a quiet alley gives me chills. And here is where the trap proves fatal.
Right, there's no good way out.
Exactly. If you scream no, when she asks that second question, she uses those massive shears to kill you on the spot.
But if you try to appease her, if you say, yes, you're still beautiful,
She uses the shears to slice your mouth open from ear to ear so you look exactly like her.
those are the options. Death or total disfigurement.
It is the ultimate Kobayashi Maru, an entirely unwinnable scenario. There is no logical correct answer.
And the brilliance of this dialogue trap is that it forces the victim to participate in their own doom. It creates a sensation of absolute, suffocating hopelessness.
Okay, so if the scenario is entirely unwinnable, how does this legend even survive? Like, someone has to live to tell the tale, right?
Right. This is actually my favorite part of the research we pulled, because when kids are presented with a hopeless, unfair game, they don't just accept defeat.
No, they invent cheat codes.
They absolutely do. The Playground Intelligence Network of the late 1970s was a marvel to behold.
Children across the country began developing these highly specific, bizarre, folk defense tactics to survive the encounter.
The most common was the verbal diversion. They realized that the monster operated on binary logic, yes or no.
So to beat her, you just break the binary.
You give her a totally non-committal answer. You say, you look average, or you're so-so.
I love the absolute mundane nature of that defense. You have this terrifying, bloody monster screaming, "Am I beautiful?" And the kid just shrugs and goes, "You're a 6 out of 10.
It's hilarious. And functionally, within the lore, it completely short-circuits her brain.
She expects either validation or terror. Ambivalence just confuses her.
She supposedly just stands there, paralyzed, trying to process the concept of being average, and that hesitation gives you the 3 seconds you need to turn and run.
But the defenses didn't stop at verbal judo. The folklore developed hyper-specific weaknesses, too.
Oh yeah, most notably her intense pathological hatred for hair wax.
Wait, hair wax. Out of all the things a monster could be weak to, why pomade?
It's incredibly bizarre, but it became a central pillar of the myth. The rule was that if you chanted the word pomade 3 times, or in some prefectures, 6 times, she would flinch, cover her ears, and flee.
That is so random.
Some children were so terrified they would actually write the word pomade in ink on the palm of their hand.
Wow.
Yeah, so if they saw her in the street, they could just throw their hand up like a protective talisman to ward her off.
That is such a fascinating glimpse into how children process fear. They create these elaborate, almost magical rules to regain a sense of agency in a world that feels completely out of their control.
Exactly. If you have the magic word written on your hand, you're safe.
But my absolute favorite defense from the sources isn't the hair wax. It's the candy.
Oh, the beckwamp.
Yes.
Yeah.
The amber sugar candy. So the lore says she has this weird, uncontrollable obsession with hard candy.
Right.
If she's chasing you with giant shears, you just throw a handful of hard candies onto the pavement, and she compulsively has to stop and pick every single one of them up.
There are regional variations to that, too. Some accounts say you throw tofu.
Tofu.
Yeah, tofu. Others, which perfectly reflect the era, claim she had a crippling addiction to the Space Invaders arcade game.
No way.
Seriously. So kids would carry shiny 100 yen coins, and if they threw those, she'd abandon the murder to go find an arcade cabinet.
It speaks to the folkloric tradition of spirits having compulsive behaviors, you know, like vampires having to count spilled grains of rice.
It's incredible. But as much as we can analyze the playground logic, we really have to look at what happened next.
Because this didn't just stay a fun, spooky game of tag.
No, this next part of the source material completely blew my mind. This story jumped the fence.
In 1979, the Slit-Mouth woman caused a legitimate, documented national panic.
The adult world actually mobilized against a ghost.
They absolutely did. We can trace the ignition point to a very specific moment, January 26, 1979.
Right, the newspaper article.
Yes. The Gifu Nichi Shimbun, a regional newspaper, actually published an article reporting on the rumor.
The story detailed an elderly woman who reportedly saw the slit-mouthed woman while walking outside and physically collapsed in terror.
Which is the worst thing you could possibly do. The moment a newspaper prints it, it stops being a rumor whispered by third graders.
The media legitimized it.
It was an accelerant poured on an open flame. By the spring and summer of 1979, the panic swept out of Gifu and infected almost the entire nation.
And the real-world consequences were staggering. Local police departments actually intensified their patrols in response to the hysteria.
We have access to the actual police dispatch logs from Fukushima and Kanagawa prefectures showing officers responding to frantic calls about slit-mouthed woman sightings.
That completely blurs the line between fiction and reality.
It really does.
If you are a kid and you're slightly skeptical about the monster, and then you see a squad car slowly rolling past your playground looking for her, that validates the fear entirely.
The validation went all the way up to the boards of education.
Things reached such a fever pitch that school boards across Japan had to issue emergency alerts.
They implemented mandatory group dismissals. A child was simply not permitted to walk home alone. Teachers had to escort them.
In some neighborhoods, groups of parents armed themselves with brooms, baseball bats, and makeshift weapons to patrol the streets during that twilight hour.
Physically guarding the children from a phantom.
It's mass hysteria.
Yeah.
And whenever you have panic on that scale, the paranoia eventually creates exactly what it fears.
Yeah, I was reading through the incident reports, and there was an arrest on June 21st, 1979.
Oh, the Himeji case.
Yes. A 25-year-old woman in Himeji City actually dressed up as the slit-mouthed woman. She put on the white medical mask, grabbed a massive kitchen knife, and just started wandering the streets.
That is wild. The police had to arrest her under the Swords and Firearms Control Law.
The legend actually willed itself into physical existence.
It became a self-fulfilling prophecy of terror. But here is the most fascinating sociological aspect of the entire 1979 event.
The panic peaked. The entire country was on edge. Armed parents were roaming the streets.
And then, in August of 1979, it just stopped.
The fever abruptly cooled, and the legend seemingly vanished from the public consciousness almost overnight.
Just evaporated. And the reasoning for that is so incredibly elegant. Why did it start in August?
Because August is when summer break started.
Exactly. It is a flawless case study in what we might call analog virality.
It really is. Think about how a virus spreads on the internet today. You have algorithms, you have retweets, you have a digital infrastructure that pushes information constantly.
But in 1979, the algorithm was physical proximity.
The transmission network was the schoolyard.
Information mutated from school to school. An older sibling tells a younger sibling, they take it to a different school, the details morph, the candy turns into a 100-yen coin.
But the entire system relied on hundreds of kids gathering in a central location every single day to share, embellish, and validate the sightings.
The moment summer vacation began, that daily transmission network was severed.
The legend simply lost its primary carrier. Without the playground echo chamber, the hysteria starved to death.
But you and I both know you can't kill a good monster that easily.
No, definitely not.
The panic of '79 ended, but the story itself just went dormant, waiting for a new environment to mutate in. Because when we dug into the historical origins of this, we realized this narrative has been mutating for centuries.
The archetypal roots go incredibly deep. We can trace the core elements all the way back to the Heian period in Japan.
Right. There is a classic foundational tale of a samurai's curse.
It tells the story of a remarkably beautiful but deeply vain wife who is married to a fearsome and violently jealous samurai.
He suspects her of infidelity.
Right. And in a jealous rage, he draws his blade and slices her face open from ear to ear.
As she bleeds, he mocks her, asking the central question, who will think you are beautiful now?
According to the myth, she jumps from a bridge and returns as a vengeful, wandering spirit.
So that core trauma, the horrific violence inflicted specifically on a woman's face, intertwined with this intense obsession over beauty and validation, that DNA has been simmering in the culture for hundreds of years.
But it doesn't just rely on ancient history, it absorbs modern trauma, too.
Yes. Urban legends often act as processing mechanisms for real-world grief.
In 1968, there was a catastrophic landslide that swept 2 buses into the Hida River, resulting in over 100 deaths.
This is a massive, visceral tragedy for the region.
And during the recovery efforts, it was widely reported that one of the skulls retrieved from the river had a violently shattered, slit-open jaw.
Oh, wow. That's heavy.
The local communities eventually took that incredibly traumatic, real-world detail and wove it into the existing folklore of the slit-mouthed woman.
The monster became a way to contextualize a senseless disaster.
Which shows how adaptable the myth is. It takes whatever the society is most terrified of in that exact moment and wears it like a mask.
And we see that adaptation happen again in the 1990s.
The story reemerges, but it sheds the samurai origin and takes on a distinctly modern anxiety.
It becomes the botched plastic surgery theory.
As cosmetic surgery became more accessible and simultaneously heavily scrutinized and feared by the public, the origin story morphed to fit the times.
The 1990s narrative claimed she was a normal patient undergoing a routine cosmetic procedure on her face.
And the surgeon operating on her happened to be wearing an overwhelming amount of heavy hair pomade.
Wait, stop. That's where the pomade comes from.
That is the modern connective tissue, yes. The story goes that the smell of the doctor's hair wax was so nauseating that the woman flinched violently mid-surgery.
Oh my God.
That flinch caused the doctor's scalpel to slip, accidentally slicing her face completely open.
That is brilliant. It takes the weird, nonsensical playground weakness from 1979, the hair wax, and retrofits it into a modern, medicalized origin story.
It proves that urban legends are essentially cultural sponges. They absorb the medical, technological, and social fears of whatever decade they happen to be told in.
And if we look at what the legend has absorbed today, it reveals a lot about our current psychology.
Definitely.
We break down the core interaction, being physically cornered and forced to answer, "Am I beautiful?" It is a dark mirror to societal pressure.
Particularly in Japanese social etiquette, there is an immense unspoken pressure to read the room,
Right.
to suppress your own thoughts and provide the polite, expected response to maintain harmony.
It turns the basic social contract into a horror story. You are placed in a situation where politeness is a trap, but honesty is an immediate death sentence.
It weaponizes the daily, exhausting anxiety of trying to navigate what other people expect from you.
But it goes deeper than just etiquette. In the modern context, this legend screams body dysmorphia. Think about it. The monster isn't seeking revenge for a specific crime anymore. She is a manifestation of extreme, agonizing beauty anxiety.
Ah, I see what you mean.
It's the fear of cosmetic procedures going wrong, absolutely, but it's also about this crushing modern obsession with perfection.
She is constantly violently demanding external validation.
Exactly. She needs a complete stranger to tell her she looks good. And when the reality of her appearance doesn't match her obsessive desire, she lashes out with horrific violence.
She is the dark extreme of beauty culture.
It is a profound metaphor for the modern condition. And we also have to recognize how the physical reality of the post-pandemic world has completely shifted the power of this legend.
In 1979, a white medical mask on a dark street was an eerie outlier. It was a warning sign.
Today, masks are ubiquitous. They are an everyday item.
Which makes her so much more terrifying. She's no longer this obvious, bizarre outlier standing in a trench coat.
If she were standing on a street corner right now, she would perfectly blend into the crowd.
Yeah. The person sitting next to you on the subway could be wearing a mask. The barista handing you your coffee.
The fear has shifted from the bizarre to the completely mundane. The monster is hiding in plain sight.
And that adaptability allows her to cross borders. We see international variants springing up that carry the same DNA.
Like the Korean variant, right?
Yeah, in South Korea, there is a well-known variant called the red mask. It carries the same themes of hidden disfigurement and a deadly questionnaire, but it adopts the color red, playing on deep cultural taboos surrounding blood, danger, and death.
The legend travels because the underlying anxieties about trusting strangers, the pressure of beauty, and the hidden dangers of the mundane world are entirely universal.
So after unpacking all of these sources, from the samurai curses to the 1979 police dispatches to the plastic surgery clinics, it leaves me with a really profound question for you listening.
We live in an era where we can instantly verify information. If someone tells you a crazy rumor, you can pull a supercomputer out of your pocket and fact-check it in 4 seconds.
So why do these primal, face-to-face spoken urban legends still hold so much power over our imaginations?
What is it about a whispered story in the dark that a quick internet search just cannot kill?
The panic of 1979 has long since faded, but the slit-mouthed woman never truly vanished. She simply moved from the back alleys of Gifu to social media feeds and the waiting rooms of plastic surgery clinics. When we obsessively chase perfection under digital filters or repeatedly ask our screens, "Do I look good?" we are all, in a way, repeating that woman's incantation.
Frequency complete. See you next episode.